I don't want to prejudge the process here at all, but or to prejudge sort of the outcome of the talks, because there's a chance that a deal is not reached. But we certainly would want and expect that if a deal is completed, it will include tangible, specific commitments that have been made by the Iranians.
So to translate in the southern vernacular where I grew up in High Point, North Carolina, it'd be concrete commitments.
I love that.
That's what Josh Earnest, the White House press secretary, says our nation is looking for from Iran. As we welcome you into Hour 3 of America's Forum with Miranda Khan, J.D. Hayworth. Our good friend Bob Walker will be with us this hour, my former congressional colleague. He's at Newsmax Washington. And Miranda, we should note that the final round of the talks on Iranian nukes apparently is going to end March 31st, so John Kerry's really working to get this done.
Yes, he is. And according to a former Iranian nuclear negotiator, now is the time to make a deal, or the alternatives will be much worse.
Well, will they really be much worse? Because joining us now with more on this story is Middle East commentator Alireza Jafarzadeh. He's also a member of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, and as I mentioned earlier, my old congressional colleague Bob Walker, also part of the questioning and the commenting. Alireza, as you both join us from Newsmax Washington, the U.S. has really been looking to sign this agreement by the end of March. But as I understand it, Iran has rejected that idea. Does that equate with a red flag in your mind?
Well, JD, first of all, I think it's not even clear by the end of March whether we're actually going to have a signed paper by the Iranian regime on one side of it, or it's just going to be an oral commitment, however you want to put it, because in my mind that makes a huge difference, because some members of Congress are asking the administration if they can confirm this is going to be a signed agreement, a framework agreement, and the answer has been, it's not clear, or pretty much saying no. But I think the devil is in the details. What is it going to be in the agreement? What is it going to, the agreement do to stop Iran from getting the bomb? There are three parts to the bomb. The weapon, the actual fissile material, which could come from enriched uranium or plutonium. Then you have to build actually that fissile material to a bomb, what we call weaponization. And third is the delivery system. Much of the talks, basically based on what has been leaked so far, is focused on the fissile material, either enrichment of uranium or plutonium. And there's not much about the weaponization and not much about the delivery system. To the contrary, the IAEA nuclear watchdog chief, Mr. Amano, said just a couple of days ago that out of the 12 outstanding questions regarding the weaponization, which is the most important part, only one of those questions have been partially addressed by Iran, and all the other 11 have been remaining. So where are we heading? Are we going to allow the Iranian regime to get the fissile material, but in an extended time, and then have the free hand to weaponize it, and then the delivery system, which has been going on, ever since? So that's why I'm very concerned, the same way as members of Congress are, that what is in the in the detail of the agreement that would actually prevent Iran from getting the bomb.
Yeah, I'm concerned also about the fact that that the agreement is going to be a bad one, but I'm particularly concerned at the present time that they continue to stretch out the time of the talks. This idea that they won't sign an agreement at the end of this month and they're going to wait till June. It seems to me that what's going on is that they are continuing to just talk while they continue to also spin the centrifuges. Is that a legitimate concern?
Got about 40 seconds to respond, Alireza.
Very quickly, yes, it is a very legitimate concern, because remember, this whole thing, the talk started 12 years ago, but the most recent round started in late 2013. and July 2015 is going to be roughly about 2 years. What has happened in these 2 years, Iran has been allowed to continue research and development that deals basically with the weaponization part. It allows Iran to deny access to the IAEA, to those suspect sites and individuals and documents, and it allows to improve their enrichment capability throughout this period, putting the regime in a stronger position as time passes. This is not where you want to be.
Well, where we want to be right now, at least in terms of this broadcast, is right where we are. About to take a break, then we'll resume with Alireza Jafarzadeh and my old congressional colleague Bob Walker as America's Forum continues. Stay with us.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its GCC allies, as well as its allies outside the GCC, have made a decision to respond to the legitimate request by the legitimate president of Yemen and to provide the assistance needed. And so the operations have begun in Yemen. The objective is limited to defending and protecting the legitimate government of Yemen and preventing its collapse to the Houthis.
The Saudi Arabian ambassador to the U.S. spells it out. Saudi Arabia taking action against Iran and the Houthis in Yemen. With Miranda Khan, J.D. Hayworth back with you on America's Forum. Let's continue our conversation with two gentlemen joining us from Newsmax Washington. One is the Middle East commentator and a leader in the Iranian resistance movement, Alireza Jafarzadeh. The other, my old friend and colleague, former Republican Congressman from Pennsylvania, Bob Walker. Gentlemen, thank you both for staying with us.
Alireza, I want to ask you, today Iran demanded an immediate halt to Saudi Arabia's airstrikes in Yemen. Iran has said it will handle the crisis. Is this the start of a fight between Iran and Saudi Arabia for control of Yemen in your mind?
Well, Miranda, I think the war had started long ago, and this is just a new round of it, because the war started when Iran started to exert its influence in Yemen. The question is, where do the Houthis get their training and the money and resources and everything? The Iranian regime is fully behind it. They cultivated the Houthis, not for a good purpose, but they want to expand their Islamic fundamentalist ideology and views to other countries in the region. What has Iran got to do with Yemen? That's the number one question. And I think Tehran has been emboldened over the past few months, particularly when they saw the outside world, the international community, the United States has not been decisive in stopping, in opposing, in countering the Iranian influence in the region. To the contrary, when they see the United States in a de facto way welcoming Iranian regime involvement in Iraq, when they send their planes, the Revolutionary Guards, the commander of the Quds Force, Qasem Soleimani, and everything, everybody else roaming the different parts of Iraq and backing the Syrian dictator and continuing their influence in the region, that actually emboldens Iran to get even more involved in Yemen. So I think the confrontation really has been long ago between Iran and the Islamic fundamentalists on one side and the people of Yemen and the countries in the region, the United States and Europe on the other side, long ago.
Alireza, we're hearing some evaluations of what's going on in Iraq, and you touched on that a second ago, as if American air power is now providing cover for the Iranian forces engaged right now in Iraq. Do you share that assessment?
I think that's exactly correct, as you said. The problem is that the Iranian involvement under any kind of excuse is disastrous, because the Iranian regime is the source of the problem. They are the arsonists. They cannot be called back to put down the fire. They are the ones, the Iran regime is the ones that supported the Shiite militias, that pursued the sectarian violence, that led to the dismantlement and the elimination of the Sunnis, and then that led to the rise of ISIS. So you don't want to bring in an element which is the source of problem. The solution is to eliminate the Iranian influence in Iraq, to evict Iranian influence in Iraq, not to bring them back here. So when Iran is operating there, when you have the United States getting involved, doing airstrikes and everything, that in effect provides air cover for the Iranian regime's operation. The United States can continue its involvement, but only after you limit the Iranian influence.
And let me turn to my old pal Bob Walker, who preceded me in the Congress of the United States and I believe was representing Pennsylvania during what we might now call Gulf War I. We had an unprecedented coalition, but I'm just kind of curious, have we ever seen the active involvement of Saudi troops in an action, or do they usually just stick to air power? And what do you expect to happen in Yemen, Bob? About 45 seconds here.
Well, I thought that the introduction of Saudi military into Yemen was a stunning change in the whole dynamic last evening. And it surprises me that it's not getting more highlight. It demonstrates the weakness of the U.S. policy and the lack of understanding about the complexities of the Middle East by this administration. And I think that it does expand the possibilities of a regional war. And we appear at times to be on the wrong side of that war. We're abandoning our allies in favor of a greater unity with Iran. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And on that note, gentlemen, you have our thanks. We turn from your comments to a very somber scene as we're now getting live pictures from Le Vernet, France. There at the foothills of the French Alps, as families of the victims of the Germanwings flight that now authorities say was deliberately taken down by the co-pilot, those families are gathering at that point. More ahead here on America's Forum.